I want to give a big shout out to Mile High Minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, they moving the crowd, man. It's the premier platform right now. I see them on the rise, man. We appreciate y'all.
Mile High Minute, #1 blog in the universe, man. Today we got a very special guest, one of the real greatest rappers of all time to come out of Denver. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, shit.
But one of the real I'd say founders of the scene as a whole. You know what I'm saying? At least from my perspective and from what I've heard around the city and stuff. You, one of the ones out here that kind of helped birth the culture in a way, or at least elevate it to new levels that people haven't seen before. You know what I'm saying? So
it's dope.
I appreciate you for coming on the show, man. Young Doe from MNLD.
What's happening?
Just living the dream, man. Trying to make something happen.
That's right. Hell yeah. Shit. It's a blessing. It's a journey.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you for sitting down with me. You know, I've been wanting to do this for a minute, but I know you're a busy dude. You got a lot of ventures going and stuff like that. So, you know what I'm saying? I knew it wasn't going to be easy to get you to sit down, but I appreciate you for taking the time out your day.
It's all good.
All right, man. Well, let's just get into your backstory a little bit. So, first off, everyone go watch that MNLD Street Stars documentary. That's the title.
Yeah, Street Stars affiliated, MNLD.
Yeah, go watch that, because that's where a lot of my questions are going to be coming from, just doing the research on that and stuff. And it's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi and Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So that kind of really, just watching that was dope, just because I haven't really seen nothing like that out here from an artist. So that kind of helped me get some of the info and the questions I'm going to ask. So your parents originally from Mississippi and Tennessee, right?
Yeah, both of my parents is from Greenville, Mississippi, and they grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they moved from Mississippi to Tennessee and then out here?
Yeah, I guess when they were teenagers, they grew up in Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, North Memphis, and my brother was born out there, and my mom was 4 or 5 months pregnant with me, and she moved to Denver. You know what I'm saying? I was born in Denver, born and raised.
What do you think brought them out to Denver? Because, at that time, I wasn't even born yet, but the city probably wasn't as popping as it is now,
Yeah, that's old school, so, I think that 79, 80, you know. So, my mom explained it her favorite aunt that she grew up around, who was really an inspiration to her, moved out to Denver with her husband because he moved to Denver for work.
Yeah.
And so she moved with her husband, and my mom originally was coming to visit. And so when she came to Denver to visit, it blew her mind. She was the quality of life was just amazing to her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So she caught the Greyhound out to Denver and just never went back. She's like, I just didn't go back.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm saying?
So she just came out here, wasn't necessarily expecting to stay out here, but just loved it so much. So it wasn't even a whole moving process of getting stuff out here?
I don't know how detailed it got, but I use my imagination to that part, but she never discussed that. She was 19, 20 when she had me, so I imagine she didn't have much coming from where she, was, and
so just
considering her story. So
that must have been tough for her to kind of get the wheels rolling at that time, in the new city and stuff that young.
Yeah, for real. She had a few cousins and stuff that moved out of here, and so
she made it happen.
They got out there, you know what I'm saying, and built a life in Denver.
Hell yeah. You originally stayed in Park Hill and the East Side, or just Park Hill?
Yeah, both. I lived in Park Hill and the East Side. Growing up, my earliest memory, we lived in Park Hill, off of Holly, you know what I mean? So it was 36th and Holly. You know what I mean? And these little apartments right on the corner. So that's where my earliest memories. I, still remember certain stuff. Even like that memory is real significant because I remember my mom having a record player, and I remember throwing up on it one time. She kept it in my room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just something that
Like a record player, like one of the ones with the big records that was spinning.
Yeah.
Was that one of your, would you say, like earliest music memories? I suppose.
Yeah, that's one of my earliest music memories. I mean, I was young. You know what I'm saying? I was so young. You probably wouldn't think I remember certain shit, but between the ages of 2 and 4, cause I used to be like, I used to give her hell, so I hop out the windows and shit like that. And when she wanna whip my ass, I used to hide under the bed, the bunk bed, and hold on, and she couldn't really get me from up under there. So I just remember moments like that. You know what I'm saying? Just that was connected to this apartment we lived in Park Hill. So that was that. And then we also lived on the east side, and we was always on the east side because my mom's aunt, this is my great aunt, lived on the east side. And so she always drop us off over there, when they go party and shit like that.
Yeah. And then when did you guys end up moving to Montbello?
We moved to Montbello like in '87. I was about 7 years old when I moved to Montbello. You know what I'm saying? And that was what it was. Once I moved to Montbello, I met so many people that was significant to my life, and it just felt like that's where it was at. This is what it is.
That's where like a lot of the music and the businesses and everything was really like taken to that next level. And
well, yeah, started. That's when that's where I was at when I started to explore more into, my creative side, like with music and stuff later on. But when I moved out there in 7, I was like, I was athletic, and so I was into football and fighting and flipping off houses and.
Like literally back flipping off houses?
Yeah. Okay. I used to flip off like the houses in Montbello.
Well, I was curious about that because in the documentary when you said that, I was like, was he flipping houses? Like, because there's like wholesaling and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So I was like, is that what he means? But now, like, you were literally flipping off houses and shit.
Yeah, that's a good analogy though. Shit, you turn that into flipping houses, I guess, one day.
For real. So what led into y'all moving to Montbello?
I mean, it really wasn't. I don't think my mom moved there by choice or nothing though, but the dude she was dealing with, my stepdad, he moved out there or bought a house out there, and they was together and shit. That's what it was, and we lived out there, and shit.
What was Montbello like back in that time from your earliest memories compared to like now?
Montbello always been like a melting pot, you know what I'm saying? But it seemed like it wasn't as many Hispanics as it is now in Montbello. Just the culture as far as like when I was growing up, we used to be on bikes and playing outside and drinking out of water hoses, and you know what I'm saying?
You didn't have the internet and stuff as
you didn't. Yeah, when I was growing up, it was different. You know what I mean? You just really had to get out there and interact with people. You know what I'm saying? And that just changes over time. Things have changed and evolved, and you know what I mean. So, but Montbello, I always loved it. It was just, it's always was a beautiful environment to grow up in because there was a lot of people out there that I could relate to. It's a lot of people who came from Northeast Denver, came from the East Side, Park Hill, and moved to Montbello. And anyway, and then some people like that's where they started. But either way it go, it just was there was always this togetherness, this sense of unity for the most part in Montbello, and you could feel the culture. Like it seemed like kind of like a suburban area, but
Yeah.
it was deeper than that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you know, everybody, we had this language that go without saying. We was on the same page, and we understood the temperature of each other and who was who, and you know what I mean. Every different individual's reputation or their, you know, you just knew who was who. You know what I'm saying? It was different. You could not really identify that shit because, you know, people won't take the risk to put themselves out there for something they really wasn't about. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you did, you know what I'm saying? You either gonna stay out the way or you just in the way because, you know, that's who you is, or, you know. It was different, you know.
What would you say are like some things that are Montbello culture that I guess you wouldn't necessarily see in other parts of the city or even just in general?
I mean, that's a tough one right there because I feel like in every neighborhood, you know, there's people who kind of like they have their own certain language, you know what I'm saying? And it's really about how they, you know, how they move and deal with each other, and I feel like that's everywhere. So I can't say I can't separate that because everybody got that, you know what I'm saying? But we, you know, we always show unity, you know what I'm saying, with each other, you know what I'm saying? But I understand, like, if we speaking Montbello, Park Hill, East Side, ACO, or whatnot, if you kind of speaking on it from just a Montbello perspective or whatnot, you know what I mean? It's hard to separate that, you know what I'm saying? The cultures was a little different. It was more gang culture on the East Side and Park Hill, so they had their own thing going on. And there was gangs in Montbello, but you know, it was a lot of hustlers and a lot of people who like grew up together, but some might be from different gangs, and you know what I'm saying, certain stuff calls for mediation, and it was the way people at Montbello bridge together with each other. It stood out, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how me and my bros, you know, we was more known for our brotherhood, and it was something that was kind of, it was natural. It was just organic, you know what I'm saying? How it developed and it grew, you know what I'm saying? So, and you could notice it, like we didn't go out our way. It was meant to be, you know what I'm saying? So
no, it's real. And to go off your point, from like what I've seen since I've been blogging, I've seen people be cool from like every neighborhood, regardless of color and whatnot. But like the first time I ever seen like two rappers in the city like have an issue, like come together and squash it, it was literally in Montbello. And like that was like the first time I ever seen that in person. I was like, damn, like hopefully, you know, the video drop soon at some point. But like, and it was just like a random vlog, like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, I guess, intentional, but it was like a bunch of people came together and they showed love, and it was like, so I could see what you're saying, like, because I witnessed that to a certain extent, you know what I'm saying? And not to say it don't get like that anywhere else, but like I do see the unity in Montbello, you know, like as a city, it's almost like, and even when like I've done interviews out there and stuff, you know, people in the background, oh, like, this is Montbello, like, you know, just like showing a lot of pride and like love for the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of love and pride, and you know,
even with like the football team when they won state a couple years back, like,
yeah, because you know we're gonna rep with them, you know. What's crazy is when I was like, I know I ain't got on silver, but you know, this is Montbello colors, black and yeah, we gonna just say these are silver. You know what I'm saying? We just gotta say they silver. But yeah,
well, y'all, there was a parade when they won the state football, right? There was a parade. Like I don't think I've seen any other city do that out here. Like,
yeah, I probably don't remember the parade. I can't say I'm.
Yeah, it was like during the COVID year. They won like the spring state or something.
Yeah.
I seen all the
remember the parade.
So I guess it was pretty, like 3 years ago or something like that. Kind of a random question. I was on Facebook like a month ago, and someone said that the reason like there's a bunch of ditches in Montbello is because like before it became like its own neighborhood. It really feels like more of a city than like a neighborhood because it's kind of big for just like a neighborhood.
Mm.
But that it used to be like a landfill. Have you heard of this, or do you know why there's a bunch of ditches in Montbello?
I haven't heard that that's why it's ditches. I never really looked into that to
Okay.
be honest. I just shit. I embraced them.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were supposed to be there. You know, them was our little. Sometimes, you know, at nighttime growing up, we used to, when the police coming, we could get in the ditch
Yeah.
and hide under that little overbridge. Like, nigga, the police, that was somewhere to duck real quick until they passed, you know, sometimes. And, you know, we had ditches. Sometimes we'd hop on sleds when it rained and be in that thing,
Yeah.
floating down the river in a tube or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it flood, but yeah,
That's dope.
ditches help identify Montbello.
Yeah, because you don't really see that many ditches like in other parts of the city.
Yeah, we got ditches, not alleys, you know. We ain't got no alleys.
Right. Yeah. Does it seem like Montbello is like I mean, obviously it is like a newer neighborhood when you compare it to like the inner city. But does it seem like that to you? Like,
Montbello, I can't say exactly when Montbello was founded or was built, but you know, you go back to like the late 70s and 80s and stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, it's obviously older than East Denver and
Yeah.
Park Hill and all them places. So yeah, it's always been all kind of new development building towards back that way. So yeah.
and then real quick, what about Green Valley Ranch? Because I mean that seems even newer. Is that like its own city, or is that kind of partnered up with Montbello as far as like?
Nah, Green Valley is Green Valley. So we always just, you know, Montbello's Montbello, Green Valley's Green Valley. I could speak for me and some of the people who I, you know, grew up in the same area with. Green Valley, we went to this middle school called MLK. So, you know, it's just real significant. A lot of, you know, knuckleheads that grew up together and people who built solid relationships with each other. We remember times that, you know, we all identify with MLK and all the great times, and sometimes we'd ditch, and it was certain people who lived in the Green Valley neighborhood that we knew, and but Green Valley is separate, you know.
Yeah.
It was always this big field that's separated, you know.
Right.
Montbello and Green Valley, you know, it was empty at first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
then it developed.
Yeah.
What about the old airport? Do you like remember the old airport? Because it used to be closer to Montbello, right? Or am I
Yeah,
tripping?
yep, it's over there where Northfield, it was Stapleton,
Yeah.
Northfield area, all that. And I remember that growing up, you know, I used to love going under that bridge that the planes used to go over, you know. Yeah, that was definitely a landmark, you know what I mean? I wish they wouldn't have moved that, but when you think back on it, you like, damn, that shit was like wide open. It seemed damn near unsafe for them planes to be right there like
Yeah.
that.
I guess like, I mean, probably needed where it's at now just because of how big it is and how many people fly through here and shit. But I'm sure that was definitely like
Yeah.
interesting to grow up right there.
Hell yeah, it was definitely something to remember.
Yeah. What about like? I feel like whenever I do interviews and people talk about Montbello, like the crossings and the Albricks are like two of like the main like apartments that people grew up in. Like, did you spend any time there, or do you like what would you consider like the main apartments and stuff that people
Yeah,
stayed
those
in
are,
Montbello?
you know, you had the crossings, you had the Devonshires and the Albrooks, and, you know, that's just, you know, everybody know about them, you know what I'm saying? It was going down, you know what I'm saying? I never lived there personally in those, you know what I mean? But I had friends who lived in those apartments, and we always spent time over there, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was part of the culture, you know, the Montbello culture. Like, we didn't have projects, you know what I'm saying? That was the closest thing to a project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it really was the mentality. It was the mentality of the people. It didn't matter how the apartments looked. You know, they wasn't no little cute apartments.
Right.
They wasn't no projects. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But it was some real gangsters and hustlers that came up out of there, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people say like Colorado hoods, like they don't look like you said, like normal projects, what have you, when you go to other cities.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I feel like you live out here, you realize that it's different. Like, they might look somewhat nice, and like you said, they don't look fucking crazy nice, but
right.
you know, like they still don't look like real, like, I don't know, for example, like when I was in Atlanta, like, you know what I'm saying, some projects look like straight bandos and shit like that.
Hell yeah.
Even in like Pueblo, like, even though that's
Sure.
closer, you know.
Hell yeah.
What do you think's to that? Like, I guess just Colorado keeping up with the apartments and stuff like that, keeping them, you know, looking nice.
I mean, the thing is when you think about it, like how we talked about how like places like the East Side and Park Hill and those type of places was built before Montbello, and then so, you know, the more modern houses start coming up,
Right.
and so I'm pretty sure people's parents wanted to move to better places. They think they moving to better
Right.
places, so this turns out to be like a place where a lot of, you know, people who, you know, come from, you know, don't really have a great financial background or nothing,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Middle class, lower class people trying to get away from the hood because it's a lot of shit going on, the gangs and all of that shit. But all they did was just kind of, you know, bring some hood niggas together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
would you say that kind of happened in Aurora too?
hell yeah. Aurora is a very reputable stomping ground,
Yeah.
and it's huge. You know what I'm
Aurora's
saying?
big, yeah.
It's huge, and they got so many elements to the streets, like out there, just like from damn near anywhere on Colfax to certain apartments that, you know, was really popular and, you know,
Right.
known for a lot of street shit happening.
Right.
Hell yeah.
What about like the staples of Montbello? You know, I feel like one of the main ones is like Crown Market. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I shoot videos and stuff, people are always like, "Oh, let's do it at Crown."
Yeah.
And then you got Falcon Park, I believe.
Yeah. It's Maxwell Park.
What are like some of the staples of Montbello, or like the places that people used to kick it at, and you know what I'm saying?
Shit. Coming up, it was, you know, people would be at Maxwell Park, aka Falcon Park. People would go to Silverman Park, you know. It was well known. And then they had No Name Park, you know what I'm saying? And so for the most part, a lot of those spots is, you know, when you mention parks. And then you got the front, the liquor store in the front off of Peoria and Albrook, like that area over by where the Albrook apartments, the Devonshires was. And then you got, obviously, Crown Market. Like we said, you know, that's a home base. You know what I'm saying? And then
you got like the mural on the back.
Yeah, and then the liquor store on Chambers by the Safeway, where the Safeway was. There was a Safeway back there, and so just like, you know, there's certain areas that's, you know, significant staples.
Has the Crown Market always been there, from what you can remember?
It was back in the day. It was shop and go, but Crown Market ever since I would say in middle school, you know, Crown Market opened. It was the era that it was in, and it was like we was outside as youngsters. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people in my area, you know, I used to live like in the 55th area from, let's say, Uvalde down to 56.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll say Uvalde, Maxwell, you got 51st, 56, just all in that certain area. A lot of us who grew up in that area, we always catch each other at Crown Market, and
Yeah.
it's just was it was the only little convenience store in that area. You know what I'm saying? So it was
Right.
popping, and it was just added to the culture because that's where we be around there. You know what I'm saying?
How long has the mural on the back always been there? Or
Nah, they put the mural on there some years back. It might have been 2019 or 21 of them, but yeah, it was that was exciting. Like to just even be a part of that, to get acknowledged, and just for the people. Shout out to the Struggle of Love. You know what I'm saying? They well connected and just been add value to the community, and so for them to reach out to us and acknowledge us and give us our flowers,
right,
for being a part of the movement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We part of the culture out there.
I thought it was dope because I've seen a lot of videos with that mural, and you see that in other cities, but I feel like you don't see. You see murals and stuff. You go down like the 5 Points and stuff, and they got like the alleys.
Yeah.
But like that one stuck out to me just because it was like Montbello. It was like about the neighborhood and stuff, and I feel like you don't see that too much out here. Like at least celebrating like the city itself and stuff. Now shout out the Nuggets. They just won the chip, so they have that Nuggets mural. That was dope. And they got Broncos and stuff. But that was cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you play for the Falcons, the Montbello Falcons growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I played for the Falcons. I think I started playing when I was about 7 years old. You know what I mean? It was a great experience just growing up, getting to, build relationships, and that's where I met a lot of dudes, a lot of good people, and learned how to hit hard. And it was a beautiful time back then when we was doing sports and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Did you play any sports, or was it just football?
I played football, then I played a little baseball, and I played basketball at the rec center, the Montbello Rec Center. So shout out to Coach Kathy. We was called the Dream Team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we had some ballers on there. Ike played on the team too.
That's dope,
Yeah, he was on the same team growing up. You know what I mean? So.
How long did you play sports? Did you ever want to play professional sports or anything?
Hell yeah. I thought I was gonna be the dude. You know what I'm saying? Them sports. I wanted to play football professionally. I was a little uncoordinated with the basketball. I was good though. You know what I'm saying? That football shit was. I wanted to do that. I got hurt when I was like 12 though. You know what I'm saying?
What kind of injury was it?
I was just so good with the football. I had took off for a year, and then the next year the coach, was trying to get me to play, and I'm like, I don't want to play. He asked me again if I wanted to play. I'm like, yeah. But obviously I was out of shape. Shit.
Because you stopped for a year?
Yeah, so I ended up going head on with somebody.
Oh,
kind of fucked me up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like concussion and shit?
Yeah, he rocked me. And I don't know what the fuck it was. I ain't even go to the hospital, but I was fucked up. And that was the end of that. I ain't want to play that no more.
Yeah.
And, I just started playing the streets. I was just out there at 12. That's when all that shit.
What position were you in football? My bad.
I was a running back, a safety, and a third string quarterback, and a wide receiver.
So you played a lot of positions.
I played in different positions.
So when would you say I know you brought up the early music memory of you throwing up on the record player, but what would you say was the first moment or the light bulb in your head that kicked off when you were like, damn, I think I want to get into music? What was that first moment like, and when was that? How was that? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, as far as I can remember, it really started more with beatboxing. Me and my brother used to beatbox, and we used to watch the Fat. We used to always watch the Fat Boys. It was this little movie called The Fat Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but yeah. So growing up, I was more into the b-boy shit and breakdancing and shit. So growing up, like when I lived
heard of the b-boy stuff for sure. But.
Yeah. So when I lived on the east side, we used to always break dance and shit. Like we'd get a cardboard box. This was a thing for kids in the neighborhood.
Would you say it was more popular than rapping at that time?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, beatboxing and shit like that. But then rapping started getting a little more popular. But yeah, it was like beatboxing. That's how it kind of just started, and then just I say by 1990 and shit like that, you had younger groups like the Boys and ABC, Another Bad Creation, and Criss Cross, and it was inspirational for people of my age and shit.
Yeah.
Like dancing and shit, having dance routines and shit was kind of popular, and motherfuckers would do performances at talent shows at school and shit. So we, everybody back then, y'all dressed similar and do the talent show. You know what I'm saying? So that was just all of that, just the culture of that just helped build into the point to where just kind of being into music and then gravitating to like street music. You had like Tupac back then, you had E40 and shit like that. All the 92 shit, the Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all that stuff coming out, and even Ice Cube and all of that. So I'm like in an era like during that, but it didn't start in my era, what I'm saying, like with NWA and all of that. So it was influential. So a lot of groups had acronyms and shit, You had NWA, you had a group out here called BMW, Brothers Most Wanted, you had Black Hole Posse, BHP, and the acronym shit was, like how when I refer to Main Street and shit, ABC, Another Bad Creation. So that's kind of all that coincide with MNLD. You know what I'm saying? So, but with the music, like when Another Bad Creation and Criss Cross, I could say, kind of really sparked it. Like me and my partner started writing raps, and
just like pen and paper type.
Yeah, I'm just in class, like 5th grade, shit like that. 19 years old, in there supposed to be working, and so when we go to recess and shit like that, and we rapping our rap to each other over there. You know what I'm saying, in the sand. And that's kind of how that began to spark, and it just gradually, you feel me, just stay connected to it. Just being, having that outlet was important, you know what I'm saying, where you're going through shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's always been like, even to this day, I hear a lot of artists talk about like, like you said, it almost being a form of therapy or like an outlet for you to like see, speak on what you're seeing and, let your feelings out and stuff. So it started like that?
Hell yeah, it was just, it started off like that, and it looked, you see fun when you looking on TV and, you see motherfuckers doing that, and, everybody want to be a part of something. So you like, if you see people gravitating to this art, you know what I'm saying, and you feel like you could do it, you trying to find your place and navigating through your journey, you know what I mean, and I just thought I was good at that shit. Like, I could do this, you know what I mean?
So I know it sounds like you brought up a couple of groups from here, right?
Yeah.
Who were like the main rap groups, or like the rappers that, what I'm saying, people like looked up to out here, who you feel like were dope at that time when you were first coming up?
92, This is before a lot of, you know, before MNLD and all that. But back then, you had Brothers Most Wanted. Shout out to Ronell. Ronell Albright, check him out, man. He got Brothers Most Wanted barbecue. You know, he do his thing with the food truck now. But when I was younger, like, he was one of the first people to give me a chance. You know what I'm saying? An opportunity. Like, let me feature on their music. You know what I'm saying? I was a persistent young dude, so you know, I seen they little tape. They had a tape cassette, and it was like this fluorescent blue, shiny film in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
it's like some of the first people you see with that. So you know the number on there. I'm one of them. You know, I was one of them little young dudes. So I'm gonna call the number. You know what I mean? I'm gonna let you hear me rap over the phone, whatever we had to do. Come to find out, they lived around the corner. So, you know, my little badass, I'm walking up the street all the time, whatever, what's up? We just built a relationship like that, and then, so that's Brothers Most Wanted, and then you have BHP, Black Hole Posse. You know what I'm saying? They gave me some opportunities too, just, you know, showed me interest that they was fooling with me. Shout out to AK Love, and my nigga Sandman. You know what I'm saying? Sandman, he gave me an opportunity to do some music when I was like 13 years old or something like that. You know what I mean? Before I was really recording like that. I probably had recorded once before that.
Yeah.
And then, obviously moving forward after that, when you're moving towards 94, 95, you know, Boozilla. And then I can't forget, you know, Kingdom was moving the crowd back then. They had a group called GSOM.
Yeah.
Shout out Dragon E too. So they, you know, it was some people doing it that, you know, around the section that inspired you to do it. Like, you know, this shit could be done, and
right.
You know, I was already figuring out how to do shit. You know what I'm saying? Just different ways, but you know what I'm saying. So.
Okay. What was the sound like back then? Cause you know you named a bunch of like West Coast legends. Would you say like Colorado had a lot of West Coast influence as far as the sound out here back then and whatnot?
It was infused. I say for me, like it was this East Coast West Coast thing. You know, some people more gravitated to hip hop, and then the West Coast too. It was like the West Coast, but then hip hop. So it's like it's an influence there with both of them. And back then, you know what I'm saying, and that's kind of how that was. But Colorado, you know, has a huge, you know, West Coast influence, especially, you know, especially in my era growing up. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of, we could more relate to the lifestyle and what was going on. It was like really more relatable because we had the gang culture and shit like that. You know, whereas East Coast, you know, it got cold out here and shit, and it was some dope artists who was pioneers coming from the East Coast. But for me, I could say I was more influenced by West Coast and somewhat East Coast as well, because I love doing little hip hop style shit, just like, you know, shit with substance and
like New York
shit
type.
Like, you feel me? I got a song called It's You, produced by Mass Pride from Food Chain, you know what I'm saying? And it got a East Coast vibe to it, and you know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's interesting you say that, because nowadays I feel like you still hear the West Coast, but you hear a lot of the Midwest, like Detroit and Chicago stuff. But I'm sure back then, you know, Midwest probably wasn't as like popping as it is now. So
yeah, I mean,
really just listen to New York. What about the South? Were people listening to a lot of the South?
Yeah, I mean, coming up, you know, because UGK was popping, and then you had Scarface, and Tila and just people like that. And so we was influenced by South shit too, and A-Ball, MJG, and you know, it was like this connection, this crazy connection with the South and the West. I think a lot of people gravitated to West Coast shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether people say it or not, I don't give a fuck. Even East Coast people, like, one of the biggest niggas to come out of the East Coast, 50 Cent, like, you know, all that shit in the club. Some of his biggest hits is West Coast sounds and shit. But,
that's interesting.
So West Coast really influenced a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know what I'm saying, from language getting stolen or, you know, shit like that. Because, you know, I feel like it was more of, when you get down to the nitty gritty, like people, it was more relatable to people growing up in inner cities. And, you know, if we use the concept of soul food, you know, that's the scraps. So you making something out of nothing. And I feel like with that West Coast shit, you know, a lot of times when niggas make up words, you know, you create the narrative of what y'all mean and how y'all communicate with each other, but we understand it. And, you know, it's like a code. And, you know what I'm saying? All of that type of stuff be valuable when you could, like, you know, impact the culture with your lingo or your lifestyle. And, you know, and it's relatable and it's real. And, you know, that's very important. You know what I'm saying? So we come up under that because we can connect to, you know, just to relate to the realness of, you know, the different concepts, like I said. You know, the different concepts of making nothing, you know, making something out of nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. When would you say you were recording, like taking music serious before MNLD, or was MNLD and your beginnings kind of like the same time? Like,
it went to another level with MNLD. It was like another level. I always just been ambitious with music, like since I was a youngster. So, you know, just coming from when I, you know, first wanted to make something happen or record, you know, I was innovative and shit. So I started recording on motherfucking answering machine, my mom's answering machine. So, you know, one tape on one side, them little tapes, and, you know, had just the same way they would record and they talk into it to create a message and shit. You know, I put a little radio with the beat and I would play. Back in the day, you know, they used to have instrumentals, the Brat and Crisscross or Ice Cube. They all had instrumentals, and, you know, you'll find the value.
Be on like a tape?
Yeah, you know, the cassette. Yeah, yep, they'd be on the cassette because they have a single and the A side and B side or whatever. And one side was the instrumental, one side was the.
Oh, really?
You feel me? Yeah, you might want to go to the record store and get you one just for as a collector, so you can see like that's culture.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? But so, you know, my first experience with mixing comes from that, because, you know, I had to learn how to adjust it. I had to adjust how loud I'm playing the beat so that the shit don't come out distorted. I'm trying to get the best possible sound out of putting a radio next to an answering machine, you know what I'm saying, and pressing record and making sure I'm not rapping too loud or too low and finding the best balance. And that was my introduction to the mix. And I'm like, I gotta like figure shit out, and, you know, that was all of that. So that's you know, as far as my experience with that.
So were you just recording on the phone and then kind of leaving it for when people would call in, or would it literally like record onto a tape and then you would take the tape and like that would actually be like a single or a song?
It's just right onto the tape.
Damn. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You got to do it all the way through. Ain't no punching in, nothing. You got to remember your shit. Damn. And then so it was just exciting because, you know, some older D dealers that kind of used to take us under our wing. We was young niggas. They just like how we moved, and, you know, like I'm into music and whoop. And so I used to be able to hop in their old school and ride around with them, little 12, 13-year-old dude. and they throw your tape in the deck, and they got the big ass speaker box in the back with the 12s or the 15s, and they knocking that shit like, yeah, that shit kind of sound kind of good. You know what I mean? That's inspiration. You know, that motivates you to keep going. Like, I'm doing something, but you already know you got to get better. You like, I got a vision, but if they're catching on to what I'm doing and it seemed like it's doing something, I'm gonna keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that. It was always a vision to this shit. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's real.
So, I mean, I never hopped into this shit just to do it because it was popular. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just because of that. It's because, you know, I was really passionate about it, and it was an outlet, and I seen a future and different solutions that I could add to it. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I had the power to create a lane. You know what I'm saying? Right. I didn't know what it was gonna be, but it's like it's something there. You know what I'm saying? So,
couple things on that. One thing, just from you bringing up obviously the answering machine and stuff like that, but also like in the documentary, you know, people would say like you were kind of like the mastermind behind things, or like you would always be innovative and like have ideas and stuff. Where do you think that came from? Or like, you know, it almost seemed like you were ahead of your time. You know what I'm saying? Like what inspired you and motivated you and like helped you stay innovative? You know what I'm saying? Especially in a time where I'm sure it was like a lot tougher to record music. You know, nowadays you pull up the studio and you know, like you said, people were retrying and stuff, punching in, but you know, back then it was like a whole different process.
Yeah. I mean, to say where it come from, it just kind of spilled over just from just how I grew up, and that pouring over into having a certain mentality about things, like making something out of nothing. So I always felt that I would always be searching for gadgets that can help me accomplish my goal, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
If I want to make a little speaker box in my room because my mom can't afford to go buy one, we would take a cardboard box and cut it out the size of the speaker and just sit the speaker in that motherfucker. Now you got bass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, it just comes from just being innovative and using the things around you. There's tools everywhere, you know what I'm saying? It's probably not written in a book and it's not standard, but you could be creative and do whatever you choose to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I could put a speaker in that motherfucking door. You know what I'm saying? You ask me. But it came from just being innovative and using the tools around me. You know what I'm saying? That's how I looked at it, and you know, just starting to understand. I had started to understand what I actually needed to, you know, get better at what I was doing.
Right.
Like, I need some more professional equipment. And, you know, I started off with a Casio when it came to beat making, because I used to make beats with my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brothers, and then we used to just make beats with our mouth, and we would, like, kind of mimic that mob sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit E40 and them was doing, and there was a lot of West Coast shit that we resonated with, and it had a certain vibe and feel that, you know what I'm saying, that's stuck. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, man, this is what we on. It is what it is. And we making beats with our mouth. You know what I'm saying? And from there, I got a Casio, and I would mimic the sounds that, you know, or you know, the melody or whatever it was. And so what I would do is I would go sound for sound and record one sound at a time. Like, I would record on a double tape deck, but I would record, like, say I played the drums all the way through. I would play the kick all the way through, and then I would take that tape and I put it on the left side and then put another tape. And so while the kick is playing, I would be playing the other sound. By the time I'm done, it's hella air in that shit, but I could hear my production and what I did, you know what I'm saying? So it inspired me to keep going and wondering what I'm going to do next to make it better, you know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, my people, you got to think, you know, I'm alarming my parents, like they seeing me doing this shit and I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got to the point where I'm asking for a keyboard, like, man, I need this keyboard that I got my eye on. You know, I got some help getting my keyboard.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So my stepdad bought me a keyboard and it was on. You know, once I got something I could actually program and sequence and man, it was over.
So,
you know.
So you were not only, you know, obviously rapping at, but engineering, making, producing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Marketing, like everything. That's crazy. Think about. Oh, another part of the movie that stuck out to me. So in '92, you won like a battle rap, and you brought home a trophy.
Yeah.
And your mom was like mad at you for like leaving or something, and you came back with the trophy. Like, talk about that and like that moment in your life and how that inspired you, or did that kind of help you keep going and stuff like that?
It did. It was, you know, it was moments like that was, you know, vital to what I was doing because it was inspirational to, you know, get some confirmation because I just knew I was passionate about this shit and I loved doing it. And a lot of times I didn't know how to go about it, or, you know, being a 12-year-old, who's going to let their 12-year-old go to this rap show that teenagers is at? You got to be 18 and up for real.
Right.
And at 9 at night, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, certain action I wasn't getting. And so, you know, I was, at the time I was fucking with BMW, running on them, Brothers Most Wanted. So I was starting to get in tune by being associated with certain people. I'm hearing about shit like this, okay?
Yeah.
You know, they rapping, like I told you, they got a tape out. So they know what's going on. So now my ear is to what they saying, because I'm younger. So, you know, I'm just adamant about going. I wanted to, you know, showcase myself.
Right.
Me and my homeboy Creature, we went to that motherfucker, man. I had to hop out the window, though. You know what I'm saying? My mom already told me I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But, so I act like I was going to go to sleep. Man, I hopped out that motherfucking window. I already told dude, meet me around the corner. They didn't leave me hanging. I went and hopped in that car. We was over somewhere downtown off of Lincoln. It might have been 9th and Lincoln at one of them little spots that they still got around here. But, yup, and that was that. I showed up to that. And I wasn't scheduled to be in it or nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was just like that ambition. Sometimes that's how important it is to just showing up to stuff. Like, I learned the importance of that back then. Like, you know, I'm going to be ambitious about it. I'm going to show up. I ain't worried about nobody not including me or not telling me about something that don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's real. I feel like a lot of people would, you know, if they don't get invited or whatnot, they'd probably be like, nah, I'm good. Like,
they fucking up relationships and everything over there.
Right.
Sensitive as fuck.
That's
real. I had to bite my tongue so many times, and you know, it ain't about everybody else. You know, people can only do so much for you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yo, this is like the music industry. You have to pave your own way, no matter how you like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You responsible for what you show up for, and if certain shit you wasn't invited or none of that, you can't take it personal because there's so many other opportunities. And that might not have been your route. You feel me? You in charge of your route. Pave your way. Build yourself up. Develop yourself to the point to where you don't even really need nobody. Especially nowadays, it's a do-it-yourself type of thing, you know. Build it up. What you doing with your time?
No, that's real. What about, when did you end up meeting Interstate Ike?
I met Ike back in the 80s. Like, our moms went to church together, you know what I'm saying? And they became good friends. And just by default, we was around each other, and our chemistry, we always been hella good, like, you know what I'm saying? And so just growing up, we was tight anyway. But when Ike started rapping, Ike had never let me hear him rap. You know what I'm saying? It was more like once we all started becoming teenagers and stuff like that, like more people start rapping. I was like, I say when we was younger, 92 and up, like I was kind of known for rapping. Like I went from that like I said, the answering machine to a karaoke. So I had this double tape deck karaoke, and you could record on that motherfucker. I was like one of the first motherfuckers in my section around there that, you know, with my partners. I mean, we had the karaoke with the microphone. Like, what?
Yeah.
Technology's advancing. So, you know, me and some of my partners used to record on that, and a lot of us started getting familiar with each other doing music and shit. So I used to see Cat, he asked me about music. And then a lot of us like just was mutually connected. You know, Cat fucked around with Ike and Skrilla and them, and Cat was Hawk's cousin. Me and Hawk knew each other from growing up. We all had mutual friends, and then me and Analyzer was on the same football team growing up, and we was tight. And so it just came together naturally, you know what I'm saying? So
Who was all part of the music group? I know you just named probably all of them.
shit, MNLD, the group, we had you know, you had Skrilla D, you had Kofax, Cag, rest in peace, you had Hawkman, you got Interstate Ike, you got Analyzer Slim, and you had me, you know what I'm saying? And then everybody else was the crew. They still MNLD too, you know what I mean? And if they want to get on the track, nigga, we're gonna get on the track. But it's like everybody knew they place. Like we did that shit for fun and for an outlet, and you know what I'm saying, to really team build, and that shit really helped us just build as a team. And certain niggas knew they knew they wasn't really, rap wasn't really their thing, but they repped it like it was, cause it was bigger than rap. You know what I'm saying? It was a brotherhood.
That's real.
And we didn't even really like plan it like that. You know what I'm saying?
It just happened naturally.
Yeah, but we all recognized it, you know, without saying. It's just like we knew what it was. So that's kind of how that, you know what I mean?
When Tag Team came out with that Whoop There It Is, I know they like moved to Atlanta, and that's where, you know, I think that's where they were when it popped off. But, you know, them coming originally from East Denver, like, were people like playing that song a lot back then, or like hyped up on them in the city?
Hell yeah, they was like, as far as we was concerned, they made it. You know, they was mainstream with that song. You know what I'm saying? That was before I knew him. You know what I'm saying? I met him along the way, cause through Boozilla. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Tag Team, that Whoop There It Is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I remember when I first heard that came from people that are from Denver, I was like, damn, like, cause you know, people I feel like sleep on what's going on out here. So when I heard that, I was like,
yeah, you didn't know at first, huh?
No.
Yeah.
I learned probably a year or two ago. I forgot how I originally figured out. But
Steve and DC, shout out Steve. That's my guy, man. Shout out DC. Yeah, Steve, time and touch bases or tap in, you know. If I'm in the A, sometimes I might pull up on Brody. But yeah, that was definitely a memorable moment in history for them to, you know, and still to this day that song is it's still moving the crowd. They publishing one time me and
commercials.
Yeah, they getting booked for stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's epic, man. That's every rapper's dream to have something that lasts a lifetime like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's inspirational.
With it being 50 years of hip hop, what would you say, outside of that one, are some of like the most memorable moments in Denver or Colorado hip hop history?
Shit, man. I think, so for me, and the era I grew up in, and certain significant moments, I'll say one of the biggest moments from my perspective is when Boozilla brought Sebo out here. It was like at the prime of his career, you know what I'm saying? And Boo really had a real like genuine organic relationship with these dudes. You know, they come into the house, to his house, to the studio and shit like that. But it was just like, this is what we listening to. Like, we listening to this shit. This shit motivating the streets. This is, you know what I mean? So, boo, I mean, you know, my hat always go out to him for the way he moved and the doors he opened and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He helped open some doors for us, and it just kind of really inspired me to take my music to the next level. It's like, you know, helping give me confirmation. Basically, I was just a young nigga, and I was good at what I did, you know what I'm saying? I used to go rent the bass heads. There was this trap house, and they had an ASR-10 keyboard, and I used to go rent their keyboard. You know, I'll go in their basement and make beats, and I keep them on these discs. So then when I start going to Boozilla's, and he's hearing these beats like, you made this shit?
Yeah.
So I was just like I was ready to go. All you had to do is get me in the studio. You ain't really got to teach me too much.
Yeah.
And then his quality was unmatched. You know what I'm saying? And
he's still going to this day with that?
You know, he embraced me. And, you know what I'm saying? I'm thankful, grateful for those moments. It's like moments like that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, shit. I mean, I say that's one that was very significant as far as out here for me that I remember. And then also the time when Francois let us be on Rhythm Visions, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't even know. It's like we knew about Rhythm Visions, but we know we about to be on it. We're going to Boulder to perform, and then, you know, sometimes you don't realize your impact, the impact we had in the city, or how our name is ringing, or what word of mouth is doing. Like, we could feel it. Like, we, you know, sometimes you got to pound the pavement, just keep grinding, and don't worry about nothing. Just go hard. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what we used to do. And we started getting recognition from areas we didn't really expect. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, being on that interview, Rhythm Visions, it was crazy, because it's one day out the blue, years later. This is probably like 4 years ago or something. Francois just hit me out the blue, like, I got something. You know, for him to even reach out and dig that shit up just meant a lot. You know what I'm saying? It showed how much he, you know, valued what we brought to the culture and shit. And for people to just have an opportunity to see that moment, like, yeah, that was history. You know, that's for us to get to like do that. You know, so that was significant. You know what I'm saying? And just being a part of the group MNLD, like, for me, just that whole experience is just, it means so much to my journey, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody involved added value and brought something to the table, you know what I'm saying? To be around these dudes who, you know, we pushed each other to do better. We had each other's back, you know what I'm saying? We all was pushing the envelope. We all understood the vision. It was tough, you know what I'm saying? Being from Colorado, we was pretty good. We was dope. You know what I'm saying? Let me rephrase that, but we didn't have a lot of resources, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was not like it is today, so.
Okay. I got 2 questions on that. The Rhythm Visions, how did they do the interviews back then? Was it like on a VHS tape type thing, and then like you plug it in and play it?
I can't say. I wasn't really into the media shit like that, the video media shit, so I don't know what they recorded that shit on. It might have been the big ass VHS tape, if you ask me. Shit.
And where they posting this? I guess
there was no posting. This was just something in the archives.
Right.
I don't know what they had it for or what they was doing. You know, sometimes you get footage and it just be in the cut, and then when time elapsed and things evolve. You know, here it is, nigga. We like, okay, content is really relevant now. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of what happened with us. Yeah. A lot of the shit, like, I used to always keep footage. I didn't know why. I mean, I knew what I had in mind. Like, damn, I could build something someday with this shit. Memories, if nothing else. But, you know, I always felt like the quality of that video. You didn't have the video quality that they had on TV and all that shit back in the day. So it's like we got little cameras and shit like that and all this footage. But nowadays, that shit is real valuable. You know, there's creative ways to, you know what I'm saying, put that shit out there.
When I seen that in the documentary, that shit gave me goosebumps because, like, I felt like I was kind of had this impression like, oh, I got this media shit on lock out here, you feel me? Like, and I had been seeing some interviews out here, but I was always like, damn, like, who's consistent? You know, who's really posting, going crazy with this? Like, I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying, go crazy with the interview. So when I seen that, it like, it was a humbling experience, I ain't gonna lie, but it was also like, it gave me goosebumps because I was like, damn, like, folks been out here interviewing since the 90s, like, you know, I started in 2018, so I'm thinking like, you know what I'm saying, oh, this is the shit, bro. I seen that and I was like, damn, that's legendary. Like, that's like historic. I hit a Francois and I just told him like, you know, like how dope that was for me as a media person out here to see that, like how inspiring it was, but also like, you know, I told him like try and post that or something on YouTube, something, cause like, man, we get some like Colorado archives and stuff like of the rap and the hip hop music and stuff out here on YouTube, like that shit's valuable, like cool to see.
That's what it is. I mean, you know, that'd be dope if somebody just put together that type of team who just, you know, the goal is to explore and get at people like Francois and these these other groups and shit like that who got older content and you know it's just like in the mainstream, like the older footage from artists that made some type of impact is important and shit. That shit inspires people. Just like how you say you got goosebumps, like that adds value to, you know what I'm saying, whatever your thought process was moving forward with certain shit. You know, it's a lot of people, pioneers who, you know, like I said, and just like moving forward, like we was mentioning artists and shit, we was going from like 92 and then I mentioned like 94 what was happening then. So like even around that era when Boozilla brought SIBO, you know, you had dudes like Nike Loke and them, you know, really, you know what I'm saying, having a name for themselves and making good music and shit that people fucked with, you know what I'm saying, and still to this day, he just, you know, he got his feet moving, he producing, he been, you know, doing all that shit. So you know, the culture was different, you know what I'm saying, coming up how we was, but we only had so many resources.
Right. I also wanted to ask, like, I feel like it's kind of tough to keep like groups together. You know what I'm saying? I had, even as a media, when I first started, like I had like 5-6 homies I was working with and stuff. Didn't end up working out all the way. You know, I'm cool. We're cool, but it just, you know, people had different visions. But like, how were y'all able to like stay together? You know what I'm saying? Even like you say, even if like, someone may not be taking the rap as serious as this person, whoop-de-whoop. Like why do you feel like y'all were able to kind of stay together and keep cool and like, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's easy to kind of have arguments and do that, disagreements and stuff.
I mean, because part of the reason was just because, you know, when we grew up in our era and shit, even when we mentioned shit like football and so shit like that, fighting, and like a lot of people in my era grew up like that. You know, we hands-on. We learned how to have disagreements and not act like a bitch about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's okay to have disagreements, my nigga, and still be able to build an empire. And, you know, you just can't be soft. You know what I'm saying? You can't care about every little thing, and just we understood the goal and what we was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? We could have our disagreements, but that shit just molded us as brothers. You know what I'm saying? And you know, once we understood that, and that shit just went without saying, it was just based on the direction shit was going and things that was happening, how we sticking together, and we understood the language. It's like once it's a certain type of language in our space, we understood what it was. We knew what it was. You know what I'm saying? And that shit just built us. Like we built, you know what I'm saying? We built a some solid relationships with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No matter what, just sticking through it through thick and thin. You gotta fuck with people who's relatable, you know what I'm saying, and got good intentions and shit, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes you're gonna get off course, and we wasn't afraid to confront each other, you know what I'm saying. You gotta confront your partner. Like, nigga, you acting like a little bitch.
Yeah.
Whether we gotta go to the backyard or whatever the fuck. But, you know what I'm saying, being genuine about it, you know, because it's hard building new relationships all the time and shit like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, it was good. I appreciate growing up around some tough individuals and shit. Yeah, that was really more than the music, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, just the feeling of, when I think back, just, I'm grateful for the people I came up around and, you know, through the ups and downs.
Hell yeah. What would you say is like the biggest differences in the Colorado scene now compared to like when y'all were first coming up and, you know what I'm saying, going to Boulder, going crazy with the tapes, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say as a whole is like the biggest differences now? Because it seems like there's a lot of rappers out here now.
Yeah, it's a lot. The difference, there's a lot of differences. I mean, you know, it's more people rapping now, obviously, and there's less people sticking together, and you know, people don't, just like that guerrilla market and shit, people don't really do that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Just the craft of, it's still important to do, you know, have merch and stickers and, you know what I'm saying, brushing shoulders with people, networking. Everything ain't the internet. Like, a lot of times, like, what I notice is, like, you got a lot of these artists, they're not networking and, you know, seeing what, you know, what's going on, staying aware of the trends of what's going on, and, you know, just brushing shoulders with each other and collaborating more. And, you know, I just see a lot of bickering and separation, you know what I'm saying? And with a lot of it, but it's a lot more people, you know what I'm saying? But that's to be expected. So everybody ain't gonna be able to stick together, you know what I'm saying? So, so, I mean, for the most part, it's that, you know what I mean? As far as shit that I feel is different, I feel like recording wise and shit like that, I hear a lot of growth in just the recording part of music from where I come from. And nowadays, you know, it's just dope that people could, you know, create nowadays and have an understanding of sound and, you know, having they shit sonically good. Because back then you used to have to go to certain people to have your shit right, you know what I'm saying? And our shit wasn't always right, you know. We did a lot of our own shit and learned from,
right.
And so the whole point of view on that, how we looked at it was like, you know, our growth is, you should show it from when we was on 4-track to when we was on ADAT to when we was on digital, fucking with Pro Tools and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's the growth shows. That was how we had to look at it. You know what I'm saying? But we got it done. You know what I'm saying? So.
Hell yeah. You know, obviously, I feel like Colorado has made some major moves in hip hop and rap. You know what I'm saying? But clearly, we're still slept on. You know, compared to like, you know, L.A. market or New York. And you know, granted, those are bigger cities. So I mean, you can kind of understand. But like, what do you think Denver or Colorado as a whole needs to do to have like a mainstream like hip hop artist, like, you know, touring, like, you know, on a, you know, Drake, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z type of level, even if they don't get that big? But, you know, what do you think we need to do to get to that point and whatnot?
I mean, I feel like that's something that's progressive. and it's different now. So I can't just look at it like, because it's a lot of great artists and stuff, and it's really, I feel like it's about how we choose to move and who we align ourselves with. Networking is important. Like a lot of Colorado artists just doing shit in Colorado. Like you making great music and you putting out your videos and shit. And we feel like since we got access to the internet, that it's just all the people are seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker be like, you see my new video? Nah, bro, I ain't even see it. It didn't pull up in my algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like really like people got to target these conferences, festivals, and really go brush shoulders. And we got to work on our presentation. You know, always having a professional presentation, that retail ready look, and doing innovative shit. You know, having them backpacks with the posters on it, and you know, I see people like L Keys doing that type of shit, and you find yourself in different spaces when you moving around. You know, you got to hit the South by Southwests and the ASCAP expos, and you know, this is where you got to focus your attention on, so you could go and be around these people. And I feel like through that, relationships build, but you have to have, you know, solid management and shit like that. Even if you managing yourself, you got to know how to network and foster certain relationships that can open up certain doors to where you could get opportunities, because it's really progressive. Like, you know, a lot of people who's doing shit, I don't care if it's Trev or whoever, you know, if you really sit down and break it down with them, you know, it start with you and your personal and professional development and understanding how to brand yourself and what's presentable, you know what I'm saying? And then other people around you who believe in you recognizing that shit, and then they support you more. People don't want to just support you just because you rap. You know, you can see a certain direction on how people brand themselves, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, it's similar as like, you know, how a pimp, you know, that he gonna get spiffy, you know what I'm saying? That nigga got on some Icky Me Yachi, he got the chains, just like the rap, you know, the rappers, they gonna look good and present themselves good, but, you know, you ain't even gotta do it in that way. It's just about having a professional presentation, and it speaks for you. It's certain shit by the way you do things that's gonna speak for you. And then you keep putting yourself in these different rooms and building these certain relationships, and your journey just gonna naturally bloom in whatever direction it bloomed based on how you watered it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I see, and it's a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? A lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. You're gonna be in a whole 300,000, like Jacka said. Like, it's just is what it is. Either you want to do it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? But you could end up being one of the greats, and you know your story gonna be legendary, buddy.
No, that's real.
But I feel like it's shit like that. It ain't just no, you know, because it's a lot of dope artists, so you can't take that away from nobody. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta move a certain way. You can't be scared to take risks and leave your town or leave your bitch or whatever the fuck you gotta do to spread your wings. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's opportunities out there. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody say you couldn't come. You feel me? They might have not invited you, but they didn't say you couldn't come.
That's a good point.
You feel me?
I thought like that.
You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it.
That's right. Okay. Who's like on your Mount Rushmore of like Colorado rappers, or top 3 to 5 all time? And then who's your top 3 to 5 right now?
That's tough. That's tough. I can't say I've been too tapped in right now, but I've been seeing certain shit. But all time, oh, y'all already know. It's gonna start off with Kofax Cack, man. Like, bro I seen his whole, like his whole, him as a lyricist just bloom, my nigga. Like, just from him starting rapping to his growth, and he just, you know, he was just a true MC, and he had a love for this shit, and he was dope. You know what I'm saying? He went from not knowing how to do none of this shit to he's the nigga that people asking how do they put out a CD. He had all of these different avenues and resources that he even turned us on to. Like till this day, one of the people who masters my shit is I got that resource from CAC. You know what I'm saying? One of our graphic designers. You know what I'm saying? But so he's definitely, because was a pioneer. You know what I'm saying? And when I started dealing with him, to see his growth was amazing. And you know what I'm saying? Then I gotta give it to Interstate Ike. It ain't too many people fucking with him. Like, period. Like, that nigga's, he's dope. I just seen him go from getting in the studio and freezing up to not even writing his lyrics, and got some of the dopest lyrics and, you know, content that we ever heard. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say you got them, and you know what I'm saying, Hawkman for sure. Like, when it comes to that gangster shit, ain't nobody fucking with him. You know what I'm saying, out here. So just coming up, you know, that shit was gritty. I loved it. Like, you know what I'm saying, one of his main songs, you know what I'm saying, I produced that motherfucker, and it was like, we was kind of like, it was like a Dre and Snoop type of thing, you know what I'm saying? With me and him around that time, you know what I mean? And it's just one of the dopest niggas. And I gotta give it up. My fourth is Analyzer Slim, you know what I'm saying? That nigga is like, his wordplay is out of this world, you know what I'm saying? That's somebody who I done sat in the car with, you know what I'm saying, and just talking on some regular shit, and we developed this lingo with each other, you know what I'm saying, that he was able to, you know, put that shit in his lyrics in a way that I knew I understood what he was saying on a lot of that shit. And you know, he was just, these people around me, and they inspired me. It ain't because they my homeboys, but when you speak of us being our brotherhood and the unity we had, part of it was because we was fans of each other, and it wasn't because we was friends, you know what I'm saying? So we was really fans of each other's music and shit. And so you know, I gotta start there, you know what I'm saying, like just coming up. And it's I say my fifth one that I'll put as far as lyricists, you know, you got Bumpy Chill. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but yeah, he's one of the guys back in the day who, like, when I was growing up and shit, young teenager and shit, he was on the scene with like Kingdom and G-Some and all of them. You have Bumpy Chill, and Dez is one of my favorites. Nightcloak's definitely one of my favorites. It's just I can't stop at 5.
Yeah,
bro.
there's a lot.
And you, I mean, and then Boozilla, you know what I'm saying, he was just, I can't even say he was slept on, because every time that nigga dropped something, it was just dope. Like, he the nigga who really knew how to put a body of work together. And, you know, so these people who inspired me, and that I'm, you know, fans of their music, you know what I'm saying, I actually like listen to their shit and get inspiration, you know what I'm saying, and shit like that. So, and then, so I say now, that nigga Lolo hard, you know what I'm saying? You up on Lolo for sure?
Maybe if I seen him, that name does sound kind of familiar, but
yeah,
I can't think of on top of my head.
His shit hard. And then BC, you up on BC Music?
I've been asleep.
Yeah, he dope. He's another one of them people where his growth is just his growth. Like, he's a student of the game, you know what I'm saying? So I just seen his growth, and recently we did a project together last year, you know what I'm saying? So just look up Young Don BC. Merlot. Little Merlot. You up on Merlot?
I've heard of Merlot.
Yeah, you need to tap in with him. He's more of that younger generation too.
He's hard. I think I had him in my March Madness bracket.
Yeah, he building in the back. You know, I always, like, when he first told me he rap and shit, you know, I can't say I took him serious, because, you know, I'm more of a, like, shit, you you got to get in the lab and show people something. Like, we want to see this shit. We want to hear something. Give us something to hear. But, you know, he prevailed. Like,
he's dope.
He's dope, you know, to me. And then AP has always been dope. Like, ain't too many people fucking with him, like, period. Like, since he started doing this shit. I remember when he was, like, just a diamond in the motherfucking rough. Like, people wasn't paying attention or listening to him. Like, and I got an ear for certain talent and shit. And it's like, that nigga. And he stayed consistent. He stayed consistent. You know, this shit hard. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't even gonna lie. I think he's my favorite rapper. Like, not even just Colorado, probably all time. Like,
oh, that's dope.
Just, he cold with the lyrics. Shit. People probably see that because I be posting all the time, but
yeah.
But I fuck with AP too.
Yeah, so I mean, just off the top of my head, man, but there's more. There's definitely more, man. I could go on and on. I don't really like doing top fives and tens and shit. And, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of dope shit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't like putting that in a box.
I know this was probably, I know you probably kind of went into it, and this was probably a question for earlier in the interview. But how did MNLD come together? I know you explained how y'all like met and stuff, but like how did the name come together? Like, cause when I think about how like I came with Maha, I mean, I was in my room like writing ideas and stuff. Like, so how was that initial process for y'all? Were y'all like just all like recording in the basement, like coming up with, you know, writing down like names and stuff, or how did it come about?
It was crazy because it wasn't really traditional, you know. So let's say like this: we started recording in my basement together, and we fucked with each other. And so this is who I'm rapping with. We really just doing songs together with each other. But we just had a brotherhood, and so I went to jail as a juvenile, and I was staying in touch and shit. And so what happened was, I ended up getting my keyboard and my mic and 4-track and shit in there. Just long story short.
In jail?
Yeah. And juvenile hall. I think that should go down in the fucking history books or something. But I don't know. When I think back on it, I'm like, damn, what the fuck? I go back in 1996, 97? That's a long time ago to like be making them type of moves. But anyway, we was already mob, you know what I'm saying? It was the mob, you know, so we always rep that mob shit, right? Mob niggas, that's what we was. And so like I said, when I was locked up, just between writing the homeboys back and forth and all of that, we decided to be a group, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We all agreed, like, we're gonna be a group and shit. We came up with this name, so Analyzer Slim, he was locked up too. So with us being mob niggas, we already had the MN, you know what I'm saying? The M and the N, but we was playing back and forth, just writing each other back and forth. And you gotta think, our letters wasn't getting to each other often. You know, it's like 4 days to a week before we, you know, but we was just persistent. And we writing each other ideas back and forth. We kept building on the acronyms and shit. And, you know, eventually the LD came, the Living Decent. So, you know, and it just stuck, you know what I'm saying? But we knew we wanted an acronym. So then it was Mob Niggas Living Decent. And then from there, once we all agreed, what happened was, you know, start branding that shit, you know what I'm saying? I was in Lookout Mountain, and there was a little screen printing, you know, shop in there, you know what I'm saying, in a vocational class and shit. So from there, I just started getting ideas and having people draw me shit. And, you know, I got these t-shirts made that said Game Contagious, had Mob Niggas Living Decent. It was a whole little thing. You know, from there, we started branding that shit. We like, Young Niggas, 96, 97. We got t-shirts. Wasn't many people having that. We branding ourselves, and we sticking together, and we making hella music every day, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sending shit out back and forth, 4 tracks, and we just building our shit, man. So we decided we're gonna make a tape. You know what I'm saying? So we had this tape called Hell Back in the Game, and I wish I had it to this day.
Yeah.
Somebody got that Hell Back in the Game, holla at us. MNLD is on the tape. You know what I'm saying? So from that day forward, that's just what it was, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you have any like artifacts or like tapes or old merch or anything like that from those days when y'all first started?
I probably got a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Probably got a t-shirt. And I ain't really got too much, man. I lost a lot of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I kept certain shit and certain shit disappeared. You know, I was in and out of jail, prison and shit. So, yeah, I wish I had a lot of that shit.
Right. That's dope. I'm sure some people do. I seen someone post like an old Trav CD when he was Rocky.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah, me and Trev got a song when he was Rocky. We got a few of them. Go back, I remember when he first came in as a rookie. You feel me? He came in gunning like okay, this little lyrical motherfucker, you. We embraced him, you know what I'm saying? He always gave us our props, though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then you look up and he's Grammy nominated and shit.
Yeah, that's dope.
Oh, yeah. I like that you show love to a lot of the people out here too, you know, regardless of where they're from and whatnot. Like,
yeah.
Like I can tell it's genuine because you smile when you say it too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel that kind of goes back to your point earlier about like, you know, how it may have been more unified, like when you were coming up versus now.
Yeah.
And that's important. Like,
yeah, it is, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta create a certain environment for it to operate a certain way. And so, you know what I mean? Just let niggas know. Like Interstate Ike say, love is love. Business is business.
right.
You know what I'm saying? He said the other way around, but you know, that's just a lingo. It's a lingo. It's language to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? You create your environment. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, you can't manage all of it, but you know, you set the tone. You know what I'm saying? So we all bring certain shit to the table. You know what I'm saying? Within my crew, we all and learning how to deal with each other, and you know, just like how to operate with each other and learning each other, and it just built. You know what I'm saying? It's just solid, you know. It is what it is, even through ups and downs.
So I also want to ask, like, outside of the music, you know, during the 90s, we got the Rockies and the Avalanche. And before 96, there was no, like, professional sport championships yet. Like, Broncos won in the 90s twice. Avs won in the 90s, early 2000s. And then we had, you know, Broncos, Avs, and Nuggets recently win. So, like, and then you had the marijuana boom in, like, 2012. What was, like, Denver like back in, like, the early 90s, even maybe late 90s, compared to now, like, as a whole city? Has it gotten a lot bigger, you know, with all the sports success?
Yeah, it's a lot of growth. It's been a lot of growth since back then. But, you know, I feel like Denver was always thriving. The culture was always there. You feel me? If you ask me, it was different though. Now, you know what I mean, as a whole. But we repped them sports like tough, no matter, you know, no matter what was going on, whether they was winning or losing. It was like diehard Bronco fans and shit like that. I can't say the same for the Rockies and Avs, but I think you know, even when the Avs win, it's like we root for them. Yeah, you know, we happy. But them Bronco fans, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They taught me how to be a diehard. You know, it's like, I don't know if I consider myself a diehard, but, you know, whether they win or lose, I'm staying down. I'm loyal to the soil. I'm a loyal to the soil fan. You know what I'm saying? So, it was like, it's different though, you know what I'm saying? Just the scene is different, you know. It's hard to really give you that that comparison being that, because when you say it, I always think about internet and no internet, and it was like the dynamics was different on how people deal with each other. So it's hard these days because you don't know who is who. You feel me? And a lot of people don't really be around each other. And then I feel like a lot of times that, you know, the internet gives a lot of people a opportunity to present a false version of who they are really, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, growing up around people and being around my niggas and shit all the time and shit like that. Yeah, it's like whether you going through some shit or, you know, you can't really see that shit on the internet or what's on a nigga mind or like, you know, that getting confronted and, you know, being honest with your people about certain shit. It's like it was different, you know, the accountability level. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, it's just way different nowadays. So, you know,
that's real.
From my perspective.
Let's talk about a couple of things you got going now with the book, what the business is. First off, I don't think any like artists out here like created a book. So how did the book come about? What made you, you know, want to write a book?
This kind of run deep. It's just a collection of my journey, you know, from my experience with music, like the music, and coming from being an artist and being attracted to the business side of things along the way, and just like by default having to take care of a lot of the business. And so with that, just I gained a lot of knowledge about business and the music business and the different areas that you have to take care of. You know, that's important when, you know, just areas like marketing or how important it is to rehearse, you know, for shows and taking care of your publishing and networking. And it's really like a lot of the basic shit that, you know, sometimes we get scatterbrained about, and to just have, you know, this is more like a guide, you know, you could tap into this shit and, you know, and just kind of let people know the importance of registering your name as an artist, as a business, you know, just simple things like that, you know. So when you do your taxes, you know, you might have it registered under your record label or whatever if you a label, but if you just an artist, you know, like me, Young Doe, registered Young Doe as an artist. So when I do my taxes for the bread I'm getting through Young Doe, you know, shit like that, you know what I mean? So we just tapping in. I felt like it was necessary, and me and my manager, Nucci, you know, he been there most of my journey, and a lot of this process started through having opportunities, which he helped me have certain opportunities when I started getting on the road and doing shows out of town. And, you know, he's really connected and shit, and he was just a go-getter when it come to doing shows and, you know, booking shit out of town and using his network and being able to see somebody passionate. Like, you know, he didn't really give a fuck about getting rich off rap. You know, he was passionate about helping artists and adding value to the culture and, you know, opening up doors, inspiring people around them. And, you know, and that's something I seen in myself anyway, you know what I'm saying? So it was motivating. And so the book more so came about, I had developed a curriculum, because last year I taught a class for, you know what I'm saying, youth, you know what I'm saying, at the Struggle of Love. So every Monday I would go and teach them different things, like the business side and the creative side. So it was a lot of, you know what I'm saying, so I had a whole curriculum that was set up week for week. Shout out to Janine Duran, Dr. Duran, for built my curriculum, she took all of this knowledge. So this started off with a lot of knowledge, and I had all of these different papers all over my kitchen table and shit, sticky pads, and from all of this research and exploring I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And then so I'm like, damn, how I'm gonna consolidate all this shit, you know what I'm saying? I knew I could do it because I'm always optimistic. And just eventually I got it consolidated. And then once I was able to see the curriculum in the format that it was in, you know, it inspired the book. I'm like, this shit I already know. And a lot of shit I learned, you know, because I used to study this book. I'll say back when I was like 19, I had got this book, Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. And I was studying it. I was putting the little sticky tabs and shit on certain chapters and highlighting and just really studying that shit. And this is back when, like I said, 18, 19, and 20 and shit like that. And that was instilled in me. I knew I was attracted to the business side of the shit. And so moving fast forward, it's crazy to have a book about the music business. And you know, the attention spans is short these days, especially people in music and rapping and doing shit like that. So I wanted to condense it and not have nothing too huge, you know what I'm saying, a motherfucking Bible or nothing. And so it's more like a guide. And you know, it's very, you know, this is a very valuable piece of motherfucking product right here. This shit motivate you and give you some guidance and some resources. You know, we talk about different festivals and shit and give you some leads on different festivals that's good to go to as an independent artist. So, you know, it's really crafted for the independent artist. Make sure y'all get that shit, what the business is. You know what I'm saying? By Desmond Carter and Charles Truth. That's my pseudonym, my PNA. And, you know, I just feel like this shit was necessary for the culture. You know what I'm saying? I feel like hopefully a lot of young cats tap into this shit.
That's impressive.
Shit like that, man. And, and I got the credentials, you know what I'm saying, the experience. And, like, right now I'm in school. You know what I'm saying, for music business. Working on my bachelor's. I don't know if I want to talk about that.
No, you good. Okay.
So I was curious. I go to Full Sail University.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Is that like in Colorado? Is it
no,
online?
I'm doing the online course.
Okay.
It's an accelerated course, and so I'm doing that right now. But that shit is. It's a beautiful thing, you know, just learn. It really helps a lot with the professional development part. You know, you learn how to do a lot of things dealing with, you know, marketing analysis and just how to present yourself as a leader and all of the qualities and different levels in corporations and businesses and how they operate. And, you know, once you just understand that and get that in your head, it's good for you. You know, it's healthy for me because, you know, it helps us understand how business really operate, because a lot of people had this false idea of how the music business go, because a lot of artists, they just more on the creative side. You know, when you know you dope and your shit should be making some money, but it ain't nobody on the other end handling your business to make sure money's getting made. You know what I'm saying? And you think these rich people is supposed to just grab you and put you in a fucking position. No, you gotta work towards that position. It's like anything else. Build your relationships with these people. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. So that's like so important to know. I don't give a fuck who an executive is or the biggest dude you done met from all these little companies and shit. You can't expect them to just put you on. They don't know you. It's a lot of shit that come with this shit, you know. The way you interact with people, your chemistry. You might be a hothead. They don't want to deal with that shit. It might add stress to their life, but people don't think of that. So it's more about building your relationships. You know what I'm saying? And the more relationships you build, you learn how to treat people and how to deal with people, and all of that's what's important. You feel me? Nigga, what the business is, nigga. You feel me? That's how I feel.
Even just like a quick side note on what you just said, like I notice if I post good music, it'll still go up on the blog. But I notice a lot of times the stuff that goes more viral or whatever is like it'll be random stuff like 100 Pack Savvy buys custom box day baby shoes. You know, like people gravitate towards like other things than the music, so that shows like how important, like you said, the business is and the different avenues outside of just being creative and having a good sound.
Yeah, being personable.
Yeah.
It's just not one dimensional, and it's not a one size fits all type of industry.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So all that type of stuff is important. You know what I'm saying? The way you interact, targeting the audience that's relatable to you and shit like that. Like all that shit's important. You know, none of us have mastered it all, and some of us, you know, it's better have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. You know,
Right.
in this music shit. So.
Oh, that's real.
You know, we navigating through it, man. You know, I just want to add my value to it. So that's part of, you know, why this is. I feel like I just owe this to the culture. You know, based on my experience, whatever you know, wherever I'm at with it, I want to share this experience with people. You know what I'm saying? Cause motherfuckers ain't gonna be able to reach me one day, boy.
Yeah.
This shit I'm working on.
I want to get
I'm
into
gonna be too busy.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I was gonna ask about school since you brought up school. How was like your high school career? Like, did you end up finishing high school and then like did you just start college or what made you get back into going to school and stuff?
School. No, I didn't finish high school. I got my GED. So that's that. That's how school went. And then as far as college, when I got my Fed case, I enrolled in college because I wanted to do graphic design. Like when we first started doing music and shit, like start dropping CDs, I was making all the covers on Corel Draw. I learned how to use Corel Draw when I was in the juvenile facility, and so I was making all our covers at first. And I kind of had I had a thing for graphic design and shit.
Yeah.
And that was that. But I didn't finish that, you know what I'm saying? And so just through my journey with music and me kind of gravitating to the business side, and then, you know, the older I get, you know, my passion shifts a little bit with towards certain shit I'm passionate about, but then you got to clear, you know what I'm saying, you got to clear a path for certain other things because you can't do it all, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got to learn where to put your energy, and so I'm just more attracted to a lot of this business shit, and so I felt like, you know, how I grew up, the way I grew up in the environment and community I grew up in, I had a disadvantage to the corporate world. You know what I'm saying? My demeanor, the person I am, if I just want to be myself, a lot of corporates not really just going to understand it. I'm not going to understand their language either. But, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel like that should keep me from being included in bigger rooms. So I felt like, just like I say, be a go-getter and go build relationships, I felt like it was important for me to push myself and go get the credentials. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I had so much experience to where it's like it's just bugging me. Like I got this experience that'll drive you crazy if you don't take it to the next level because you're capable of doing it. So I'm like, I got to get the credentials with this experience. You know what I'm saying? And it was well needed. And so throughout that journey, I've been just navigating and learning a lot of personal and professional development stuff, and then learning how to do certain things, and then other things I'm learning is aligning with shit I already knew, and you know, teaching me how to touch up on it. Every day shit is changing, bro, and you know, it's a lot of key things I learned about keeping up with the trends and shit like that. And we know this shit, you know. That's why we see newspapers and news and media so you know what's going on around you. So it's important to do that in your industry too. Whatever you doing, you got to know who's hot and what type of songs people's gravitating to, and knowing the behavior of your audience and how to target them and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? That's just important. And so,
Right.
you know,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
No, that's real. Okay. What about your daughter's drink?
Yeah, my
It's a
daughter.
lemonade, right? Or
Yep.
it's different flavors as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's through you connected with Exotic Pop, right?
Yep. She did a deal with Exotic Pop on one of the drinks. She got a strawberry banana cool cup. You know what I'm saying? With Exotic Pop, it's a collaboration with them. And then aside of that, she got 9 flavors of her own sugar water. You know what I'm saying? It's called Sugar Water. Y'all can check it out at sugarwaterbeverages.com. The IG is sugarwater__. It's sugar, SUGA. You know what I'm saying? So she moving the crowd. I'm proud of her. You know what I mean? She get a lot of support from the community. And she just recently opened up a brick and mortar spot, you know what I mean? So she on the 23rd of July, you know, with an event space in the back. So y'all need an event space, go to Sugar Water Beverages, book your event space, go to the IG, inbox it, you know, birthday parties, baby showers, all of that. And then she's just learning how to be an entrepreneur, man. You know, she's 11 years old. It's a blessing to, you know, watch her bloom. And so, you know, we just same thing, took our experience and poured it into her. But she's, you know, she been around it, so she had it in her blood. She already gravitate towards it. You know, it was, you know, the main thing was not to force nothing on her. We didn't want her doing nothing that she wasn't interested in doing. And these is things that she was growing up, she would tell us. You know, every few years we'd be like, if you could sell something, what you think it would be? So she always would say lip gloss and lemonade.
Yeah.
It's lip gloss or lemonade. She'll say both of them or either one or the other. And it bloomed and she stuck to it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's moving the crowd. It's available out here. It's available in like 3 or 4 locations right now. You know what I'm saying? We still working on different things, distribution stuff. We pacing it all. Make sure y'all check it out. 2200 Chambers Road, 2 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday. Check that thing out.
Hell yeah. Okay. I also noticed, I watched that Dirty Glove interview with Chase Stalin. Y'all got a bunch of music together. He's a legend in Cali, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Bay Area,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. How did y'all link up and, like, you know what I'm saying, make that connection come together so strong? Because y'all got a lot of videos out, a lot of songs.
Yeah.
How did that all come together?
Yeah. It was really organic. Like, once we linked, because my manager, Nooch, shout out to Nooch Dakotas on IG. So I met Nooch in LA. Me and DJ K-Ton was in LA going to the BET Award festivities and shit like that. It was probably damn near 20 years ago, 15, 17, something like that. But we met Nooch, and me and Nooch, he just, you know, he was somebody who identified the grind, and he seen the ambition and passion. He was with Keek the Sneak at the time. That was in front of, we was in front of the little food spot out there or whatever, Roscoe's in Hollywood. And it was just crazy. We linked. So from there, like, we stayed in touch. And then so Nooch had invited me to a few shows. He like, you know, we got a show in Oklahoma City, and I just showed up. You know, I showed up on my own dollar, no expectations. Me and Nooch built our relationship. So from there, Nooch would invite me to shows and put me on shows, and you know, just by default, he started managing me and shit. You know, and you know, Stalin, he had relationships with all them, Jacka, Stalin. Him and Mr. Fab, his cousins, Key. E40 area, you know, most of the motherfuckers you can name.
Yeah, I seen it. I seen his catalog. He got features with everyone from the older Bay Area artists to the newer Bay Area
Yeah, Stalin
artists.
do, yeah. So this is Nooch I'm talking about. So this who hooked me and Stalin
Okay,
up.
my bad.
So there was this one time where we flew to Oakland. We flew to California, and then I didn't know where the fuck we was going. We ended up in West Oakland somewhere, and at this apartment and shit. We knock on the door. Stalin opened the door. I'm like, okay. He didn't tell me where we was going. You know what I'm saying? But, so he waited for Stalin to pack his shit up. He was all like, let me finish this verse. He had a studio in the motherfucking front living room and shit. So he finished his verse, packed up. He bring his suitcase. We leave. Later on that night, we fly to Vegas, and then so when we travel, he would pair, you know, he'd get all us rooms and pair certain people up in rooms and shit, and he paired me and Stalin in the room together. So Stalin tired the motherfucker. He like, nigga, I'm going to sleep. Yeah, and I'm up gambling. I keep coming back in the room. My phone had died. I keep having to get on the phone, telling my little chick to send some more bread. I'm losing hella bread. So about 8 in the morning, I finally hit. I come back in the room. Yeah, nigga, I woke him up. Yeah, nigga, I hit. He like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, I did. Showed him. And he was just impressed. Like, this motherfucker here. It was just, you know, it's just a memorable moment. You know what I'm saying? That's how our relationship started. And from there, we end up on shows together. And then he came to Denver. So Nooch brought him to Denver. And once he, like, came to my house, I had, like, the studio at the house in the basement. Control 24, cool little state-of-the-art studio and setup and shit. And he just got comfortable recording there. Like, man, I love this shit. And it inspired him, you know what I'm saying? He like, man, you got your own crib. And, ooh, you know, he was just a little project nigga, you know what I'm saying? But he lived in the Bay, so they was closer to all the shit. And he connected with people already and shit. But he just now really, you know, starting to come up and get his name out there like that. And from that point on, we just built, you know what I'm saying, organically, like, you know what I'm saying, it got to the point where he'll start inviting me and shit. He like, man, we got a show in Sacramento at Pinky's. It's just this little spot named Pinky's in Sac, you know what I'm saying, shit like that, and it just built from there. Next thing you know, being bro, you know, that's little bro now, you know what I'm saying, and he really acknowledge the value I bring to the table, and you know, he like, nigga, you one of my favorite artists. Like, a lot of people don't know, like, I'm Nate Artist's favorite artist. Right. Or one of them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it really ain't got nothing to do with being the dopest lyricist and no, you know what I'm saying? I just bring a lot of value. You know, I'm always helpful and persistent, and I just bring value to this shit. When I was on the road, like when I would go on the road with them, I would be the only motherfucker there with, you know what I'm saying, I have my duffel bag, it got books and CDs, flyers, and I had a camera around my neck, you feel me, and I had the little portable recorder, you feel me, by any means necessary. And when I get there, you know, I'm passing out flyers, I'm putting them on tables, and, you know, that's just how I was moving, you know what I mean? I knew I was an underdog, you know what I'm saying? You got to know what it is with you and where you trying to get to. Right. But through all of these different obstacles, they lead you somewhere you didn't even intend to go, you feel me? So I started gaining all this knowledge, and people look at me like, you knowledgeable, what we got to do? What does it take to do this and that? And you can't escape that shit. That's who you become. And, you know what I'm saying? You start to understand your purpose. And so people I was around start understanding my purpose, you know what I'm saying, and leave the door open for me. So Stalin, like, I'm grateful for, you know, my relationship with him. Like, he's never charged me $1 for a verse. Like, our shit was organic. We 4 projects in now, you know what I'm saying? We just split everything 50-50, you know. That's another example of just building real relationships, you know what I'm saying, like I did with my brothers and shit. And it is what it is, you feel me? That's just like how I do this shit. A lot of shit you gonna sacrifice, bite your tongue, and it really don't matter in the end. All the shit you go through evolves into greatness. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because what you gonna do when you get mad? Quit, nigga? Nah, you gonna have to start all over somewhere.
Right.
You did. You know what I mean? So I believe in all of that type of stuff.
That's valid. What is the future for Young Doe? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? What is your plan with the music business from here? Like, what do you want to see with the Colorado scene? What's the future?
I mean, for the future, I mean, definitely always been an entrepreneur, and I'm just trying to get better at entrepreneurship and, you know, all of the back behind the scenes shit of that and what it takes to, you know, position your business properly. And as far as, you know, with the music business, I just see myself just growing on the level of like music mogul, like
Yeah.
you know, like I feel like I have what it takes to take it to the next level because it's still a lot of growth. It's a lot of shit that, you know, people don't know that you're working for or working towards, and certain relationships, the way my relationships been built and the way they naturally been going, things been going, it's damn near like inevitable, brother.
Yeah.
One day you might take this interview and be like, damn, I remember when we did this interview and he said this shit.
No, that's all I'm feeling.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I can't do nothing about it. I'm going to be working for, you know, a major company soon. By the way things are going.
No, I believe it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I just see myself more on like the corporate side, you know, helping guide artists and helping create opportunities and giving insight and taking my experience from really having to go in there and rehearse and to be telling them that that's what they have to do purposefully, because I know that that's what it takes. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to do it, you know. And, you know, shit like that, like I'm into that. That's what, you know, makes my blood boil, you know, makes me get butterflies or whatever, you know.
How do you feel like you've been able to stay in the music business for so long, especially coming out of Colorado, build that longevity, build these relationships, like, and stay motivated to do it for all these years? Because it's one thing to even be in the music business for, you know, 30 years, however long, 30 plus years. But then it's another to even do that outside of Denver, Colorado. You know what I'm saying? At least in like the rap and hip hop industry, where, you know, it's not like I said earlier, in Atlanta and LA and New York. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How have you been able to stay motivated to not quit? And
I had to be real innovative, you know what I'm saying? You got to know when to hold and when to fold, like they say, you know what I'm saying? So I had to be real innovative, you know what I'm saying? You got to pay close attention to your journey and understand where, you know, where you're at. Like, you can't force nothing. You like, what's working for me? And, you know, you got to be able to recognize that shit. And so, for me, there's being innovative and paying attention to shit, like I said, like just what kind of impact am I having? Where am I getting the most, you know, I'm getting the most acknowledgement, what areas, and, you know, understanding my strengths and weaknesses. I can't just be like, oh, I want to be this type of artist and this is the audience I'm going towards, and then if that fails, now I'm devastated and I give up. Because a lot of dudes be taking these big ass breaks. They'll stop doing this shit for a year and then they come back and they don't understand, like, yeah, it's like people that they don't feel the same about your craft as they did. They might still like it and all of that, but they just look like people like a go-getter, a motherfucker who don't stop or quit. And you know what I'm saying? You could say it and mean it, you know what I mean? And they could feel it in their soul a little different. And you feel me? So I feel like all of that, and then all that shit is tough. Just learning to adjust through the changing of the times and technology, and, you know, you got to pay attention. I really literally watched this shit from when, you know, back in the day and then to around 2012, 13, when there's a decline in CDs. We coming from the CD era. You feel me? It's a decline in that shit. So it's like, damn, how I'm gonna get my music out there? Shit start coming up on the streaming sites. When nobody getting paid, or it's all on the internet, and you don't know how to get paid off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the tech companies, all these developers start getting involved. Now they learned how to monetize the streaming and all that. Even though you're not getting a lot of bread, there's still other ways. Like now they're creating all these different opportunities to where, you know, for sync and, you know, different things with your content and or selling your catalog. It's a lot of investors buying catalog because the investors is coming back to the business now that tech has figured out how to monetize and create content and license all of this shit. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I see even from a blogging perspective, like like when like the interviews and all that's just changing.
Yeah, all of that. You know what I'm saying? And then you got, the thing is, you have to be innovative about how everything is changing. You can't stop it. You could be mad, bitter, whatever, but that's just gonna get you out of the loop. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta stay open to. It's kind of like being a motherfucking running back, wide receiver, whatever. You know, you gotta adjust to what's coming at you. So if you use that same mentality, you know what I'm saying, you can survive this shit. You can survive whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that you don't drown, keep your head above the water. And keep going, and don't let this shit around you fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? The internet will fuck you up if you let it. It's very resourceful. You'll fucking find yourself laying in the bed scrolling all day for 10 hours and ain't did nothing. And then you start doing it every day if you don't catch yourself.
I remember when I got my first, like, I seen my first hate, I got all depressed. I went to the mountains, I shut my computer up. You can't,
you gotta fight through all this shit. Because what I learned in this shit, like, a lot of people that, you know, talked about me and for no reason or whatever the fuck it was, like, it's people who don't know you and they got shit to say, and then they meet you and be like, oh, he's not that bad. I had a dude tell me, like, I used to didn't like you, but my girl used to listen to your music and she turned me on to it, and that shit was dope as fuck, and now me and my kids listen to your shit, and then when I meet you in person, you hella cool, but I didn't like you. And I was like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So you gotta just ignore that shit. People go through their phases or mental health. I don't know what the fuck y'all going through, nigga, but leave me the fuck out of it. Cause I don't care.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Alright, man.
Make sure y'all get that. What the business is, man.
Okay.
What the business is. And the audio book come out in about a week. I don't know. This shit might be out. Yeah.
You man, make sure y'all go follow Young Doe and everything, Instagram, YouTube, all that, man. Make sure y'all stream it. Is there any upcoming announcements or any last minute things, shout outs you want to speak on?
Man, I'm gonna give a shout out to the team. Shout out to MNLD, the Living Decent team. Shout out to all the pioneers, nigga. The Nike Lopes, Boozillas, you feel me? The G-Sums. You know, everybody doing their thing right now with the music. I love the culture of the town, every side. If y'all need merch, man, make sure y'all holler at the homie them. Box State Printing. Shout out to K-Roll, Box State Printing at gmail.com. Send your shit over there, man. They gonna get you right. DIA Studios, you know what I'm saying? Dream Space Studios, you feel what I'm saying? Network with the town. We need more collaboration and, you know, genuine networking. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the DJs, you know, K-Tone, Squizzy, the artists,
DJ,
you know, the artists who's, you know, taking the lead right now, holding the torch, you know what I mean? Salute y'all, man. You know, keep this shit mobbing.
Can I get a shout out from All High Minute one time?
We gonna give a. See, I was saving your shit for last because I remember we talked about it. He was like at the end. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know if you had a script, so I like I'm saving it. I don't know. But yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Mile High Minute. You know what I'm saying? Like they moving the crowd, man. It's the premier platform right now. I see them on the rise, man. We appreciate y'all.
That's love. I appreciate it. Make sure I hit that like button, comment down below your favorite Young Doe song. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button to stay notified when all the latest news drops. Make sure y'all go follow Mile High Meal on everything, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that. Go follow Young Doe, go stream. All that, links will be in the description. Mile High Minute, #1 blog in the universe. We out. Appreciate you.